being able to live a life of freedom requires some form of passive income. Because I honestly don't think you can live your dreams if you're still trading dollars for hours. So a few years ago, when I was fresh out of law school, I started thinking about what I wanted to do with myself, and I quickly realized that working a 9-to-5 job probably wouldn't be a long-term solution for me. At the time, I didn't really know what else to do, but I had this spark in me that I wanted to make my dreams come true. And that meant traveling the world, buying my dream house, and being financially independent. And so when I first heard about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in summer 2017, I was immediately fascinated. What's up? My name is Caroline, and this is Wealth in Progress, where you'll learn to make passive income with cryptocurrencies. In this video, I'll share the 4 reasons why I started investing in cryptocurrencies back in 2017 and still grow my portfolio to this day. And make sure to stick around till the end because I'll also show you how to invest in cryptocurrencies yourself, even if you have no tech knowledge whatsoever.
Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. This is no financial advice and I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a random girl on the internet sharing her opinions. So please always make your own research before you start investing yourself.
With that out of the way, let's get started. The first reason why I started investing in cryptocurrencies and not in stocks or other assets is that you can get started with very little money. Quite frankly, the idea of investing has always fascinated me. I remember how my dad told me about his stock investments when I was a teenager, and I was really fascinated by it because I thought, wow, that's amazing. You can multiply money or you can make money work for you. This is great. Unfortunately, back then I was convinced that because of the high fees for stock trading, it wouldn't make sense to invest unless you had at least a few $1,000s. So at that point, I quickly pushed that thought away until pretty much 2017, and I never really looked into that more, so I never really investigated if the fees were really that high. But then when I first heard about cryptocurrencies, I immediately picked up that you can get invested with only a few hundred or just a few dollars basically. And that's because the fees are really low for the majority. Sometimes Bitcoin fees or Ethereum fees go up really high, but for the majority, they're really low. And so this is just a great way to even get started with investing with just a few $100s. Now, just a quick word of warning, the number 1 rule of investing is to only invest as much as you're willing to lose. So even if you just invest a few $100s, make sure this is not your backup savings account that you need for emergencies. Make sure this is money that you really don't need at all and that you're okay with if you're gonna lose it. The second reason why I started investing in cryptocurrencies in 2017 is because the potential is massive. So back in late summer 2017, when I started putting my first few $100s into Bitcoin, it was at about $5,000 per Bitcoin. So for me, that was a pretty high price because if I looked at the chart or at the history of this coin, it started at a few cents. So it has risen dramatically over the past 8 years before that. But one thing that got me really hooked is the limited supply. So there are only 21 million Bitcoins in total that will ever be produced or be out on the market. So currently, I think there are about 18 million out there, and there are continually new Bitcoins created until that max limited supply of 21 million is reached. So as you can see, this is a scarce resource, and simply this fact alone makes it extremely valuable because more and more people want to get in, but there's only a limited supply. But it's not just Bitcoin. Quite frankly, at the moment, only a small portion of my portfolio is Bitcoin. The majority of my holdings are actually in Cardano and Binance Coin. Now, cryptocurrencies in general are here to stay. That's pretty much the reality. I like to compare it to the dot-com era where all the internet things, all the internet companies came up and the internet was still pretty new and scary. And so cryptocurrencies are pretty much the internet for currencies, and it will also disrupt probably many other sectors, not just the financial sector. So cryptocurrencies are supposed to replace banks or at least disrupt the current financial sector. And there are tons of projects that also work in other sectors and are trying to optimize and to make it more efficient and more secure. Now, the funny thing is that most of those projects are not even fully running yet. They're either in a stage of development or they're in beta testing or something along those lines, but very few of the projects are actually fully running. So if you look at the price history and how much the price has risen for the top cryptocurrencies already, you can just imagine how much it will still go up when use cases go up and when these currencies are really in use for whatever reason. It doesn't have to be payment, but one reason why I'm such a huge fan of Binance Coin, for instance, is because it was produced mainly to lower fees on Binance Exchange. So if you go on Binance Exchange and you want to buy or sell currencies, then you only pay half the fees if you hold Binance Coin. And so that's basically why it has to go up, at least in my opinion. And it has shown so far, so I've made pretty good profit on that, because the more people use it, the more people get into cryptocurrencies and want to trade it, the more this underlying currency, so to speak, goes up as well, because there's just more demand for it. The third reason why I saw cryptocurrency as a good investment is that it allows me to generate wealth that I can then use for passive income. One day in 2018, I remember that I looked up how much money you can generate from an index fund. So my idea was to put in a certain amount of money into that index fund and then generate passive income from getting those dividend payments or just from interest. And so I'm not sure if this is accurate, but this is what I read back then, is that you can get 7% on average from an index fund, so from your investment in an index fund. And so I thought, wow, this is amazing. I basically only have to get $1 million, so I basically have to become a millionaire and then invest that into something that's more conservative, like an index fund, where I get maybe 5 to 7%, and then I'll have a super decent income without doing anything at all. So I would generate around $70 per year on average, and I could simply enjoy my life. Now, if I just invested my few hundred or maybe even a few $1,000s in more conservative methods from the beginning on, it will probably take me at least 10 years, even if I invested a few $1,000s, to get a substantial wealth or to build up a substantial wealth. However, with cryptocurrencies, you can invest very little money comparatively and still become a millionaire or still make a huge amount of money. I know this sounds too good to be true, I totally get it. But the funny thing is, even if I just look at my portfolio, I've already increased that by 1,200% just over the last couple of months. So it's not just because someone else got lucky, but I can actually see it in my own portfolio. But what I would like to remind you of is that I like to take calculated risk. So I really only invested money that I can afford to lose. So I really don't care if the money that I invested is gone. That's fine. I'm willing to take that risk to have the chance to generate a significant amount of money that will then generate passive income for me. So speaking of passive income, that's the last reason why I got into cryptocurrencies and actually stayed in there. So I initially thought, okay, once I have that, let's say $1 million, I'll take that out of the cryptocurrency space and then I'll put it into something that's more conservative, like an index fund, to get my 7% annual return or passive income. Now, the cool thing is you can also generate passive income with cryptocurrencies. And the one way to do that is through staking. Now, I'm not going to go into all the technicalities here, but what it basically means is that for certain currencies, you can lock up your holdings or your coins, and then you receive a certain percentage amount as a reward per year. So I'm currently staking Cardano and Binance Coin, and I get about 5% per year on both of those coins. But there are in fact also a couple of stable coins. So these are coins that are pegged to the US dollar. So that means they roughly have the same value as the US dollar. So they stay more or less stable. And for those, you can even get higher returns, so maybe 8 or even 12%. Okay, so these are the 4 reasons why I got into cryptocurrencies 4 years ago and why I still believe in it. If I've piqued your interest and you like to get started with investing as well, keep in mind to only invest what you can afford to lose. I can't emphasize that enough. But as promised, I'll quickly show you how you can get started with investing in cryptocurrencies as well. Now, the easiest way to get your first coins is to use an exchange. And these are websites, so exchanges are websites where you can transfer your money, so your US dollars or your euros or whatever your currency is, and then you can change or exchange them for the currency of your choice. Now, there are probably hundreds of different exchanges, so I'll just share the most common and my favorite ones here. My favorite option in Europe is bitpanda.com, so always make sure to type it in correctly, so it's bitpanda.com. And so that's a really simple and clean website that's very simple to use. So even my 70-year-old dad uses that. So if he can do it, you can do it too. So what you'll have to do is just click on get started, create an account. So I'm not going to do that now. It's really straightforward. Just follow the steps, create an account. And then even before you get started, you can click on invest, for instance, and then choose a currency. And then it has some great overview and explanation already, so you can read through that. Really simple. The best way to use for euros, Swiss francs. I'm not sure if they have dollars as well, but I live in Switzerland, so I use that. Really like it. The other option, probably the safest solution for the US, is coinbase.com. So again, make sure to type it in correctly. Coinbase.com looks really similar. Again, super simple, super sleek. Create an account, read through the manuals or the descriptions, and invest your first few $100s to get started. A third option that you could theoretically use as well is Binance.com. So I've mentioned that before, Binance.com. And so this is where Binance token or Binance coin is used or is created around. So that's what I was referring to earlier. Now, keep in mind, this is a bit more advanced version. So you can see that already there are tons of options. So it looks much less clean than the other two options. So I would recommend not to get started with Binance. First, start with one of the other exchanges. And then if you can't find a coin on Bitpanda or on Coinbase, which is very rare if you stick to the big ones, then you can still go to Binance later on. But it can really be a bit confusing. There are so many options, and that's great. I mean, you can even stake it, and I'll probably do a future video on that, but it's just not the most straightforward version to get started with. All right, so this is why I got started with cryptocurrencies and how you can start investing as well. Do you already have cryptocurrencies yourself, or are you interested in getting started? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, hit the like button down below, share it with your friends, and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!